Hey everyone, Norman here with the McWane Science Center, back again with another SciSpark. We've seen all kinds of examples of light emission, from flame tests to spectroscopy and even chemiluminescence. Every time, the culprit is something wacky going on with electrons. But what exactly is going on down there when electrons are excited? And more importantly, what happens when physics forbids the electrons from calming back down? Before I jump in, I highly recommend that you check out any of our SciSparks on light emission, whether from metal salts and pickles, neon gases, or chemical reactions, as each of these gives a great primer on how light emission works. But in a nutshell, when the electron of an atom becomes stimulated by absorption of external energy, it enters a higher energy level, which is unstable, so the electron is unable to maintain presence in that state and will eventually decay back to its ground state, a process that requires the release of energy since overall energy within an atom must be conserved, so a photon is emitted with energy corresponding to its wavelength, producing various types of electromagnetic radiation, including different colors of visible light. But if that description was too hard to follow, think of it like a dance party! The outside energy source is kind of like a really good dance song, and the electrons are easily influenced by the music to start an intense rave. Eventually, the electrons get tired and leave the dance floor, sweating off a photon full of hyperenergy. Thanks to this effect, we can get some pretty useful properties, such as a material's ability to glow under UV light in a process known as fluorescence. With fluorescence, it's really more like a fancy light show than music that gets the electrons moving like crazy. But unlike the other forms of luminescence that wear off after some time, fluorescence will persist as long as constant UV light is landing on the material. So you have some electrons constantly leaving the dance floor, while new ones are constantly arriving. Only some molecules do this though. For many molecules, the UV light does excite the electrons, but instead of dancing until they sweat off a photon, instead they bump into each other while dancing and slow down, or they just keep dancing at a steady pace until they calm down, or they bump into their partners and form new molecules, much like the melanin in our skin does when hit by UV light to tan. Many minerals are fluorescent, with the phenomenon being named after the mineral fluorite, in which it was first discovered, which is also the mineral for which one of its pieces, fluorine, is named. This allows some rocks to reveal surprising structures. Fluorescence is seen in a ton of everyday areas, including living things, and even many of our light bulbs. Fluorescent light bulbs, like this one, are filled with mercury, which, when electrified, emits blue light, which you might remember from my SciSpark on neon lights. Mercury also emits light in the UV range, which is perfect for making a fluorescent coat of paint inside the bulb glow brightly. The light emitted by fluorescence will always be lower energy than the UV light that triggers it. But sometimes, a material behaves strangely, and its electrons are forbidden from leaving the dance floor. They remain in their high energy state, partying indefinitely. This is a problem because atoms don't like having their electrons stay wild forever. Eventually, the atoms demand the return of their electrons to a calmer state, and the electrons finally sweat off their photon. Since this happens to different electrons at different rates, you get materials that continue to emit light long after being charged up, like beads or glow-in-the-dark stars. The emission of light slowly after being excited is called phosphorescence, the phosphor part coming from the Greek word for light. Both phosphorescence and fluorescence are types of light produced by electrons after being excited by energy, or photoluminescence. All right, all this talk of light and UV has me ready to go outside and catch some rays. So I think that's as good a place as any to end today's SciSpark. If you liked what you saw, be sure to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. Until next time.